What if I told you, in a distant land that takes 2.5 days of travel, there's a ski resort that's home to Powder of Legends? Now, this would require flying across the international date line, then taking a second flight to a more northern island, and that airport is still a 3.5 hour train ride to the final destination. If you haven't guessed it yet, I'm talking about Japan, and my destination for skiing was Niseko United, located on the island of Hokkaido. Now, if you come here in hopes of skiing powder, you might be curious, why does this specific area get so much snow? Well, if you look at the island, it's located directly between the Sea of Japan and the Pacific Ocean. And at the point where the island starts to narrow, that's where Niseko United is, as well as a bunch of the other mountains. So when a storm heads from the Sea of Japan to the ocean, it's caught right in the middle and receives that famous Japow. Now, for our path to get here, it was quite a long journey. It started with a 6 a.m. flight to LAX, followed by a second flight that was over 10 hours from LAX to Narita. Here, we transferred terminals to fly domestic to Newton-Choso Airport, finally taking the train into the city of Sapporo. Here's where we stayed for our first night as we got to the city around 7 p.m. That first night in Sapporo, we went back to Milk Mora, the place we discovered the last time we were here, for some soft serve that's paired with different types of liquor. Yeah, I know it's kind of weird for a first meal in Japan, but this is the only time we're going to be in this city on this trip, so we had to go get it. After leaving Milk Mora and heading back to the hotel, it started to snow, which got me pretty amped that they'd be dumping snow in the mountains. By the next morning, the whole city completely changed with huge snowbanks on every street with only a single walking lane through the snow. After grabbing some coffee, we planned to see the snow sculptures in Odari Park, but all the new snow had covered all of them, which meant the people in charge were working feverishly to remove all the snow without damaging the sculptures. These snow sculptures were amazing and huge and incredibly detailed. For lunch, we hit up one of my favorite ramen places that we discovered in Sapporo, which has this tomato-based vegan ramen that the broth is infused with that classic brown curry flavor. I still dream about this and desperately want to know how to make it for myself. Before heading to the mountains, we headed to Sapporo Station to grab our JR passes that we're using for the second half of the trip, and we bought our tickets from Sapporo to Niseko. We quickly grabbed some snacks in the department store located in the station, where we got these Voltbek-shaped taiyaki. Now we began the several-hour train ride out of Sapporo, with the first stop being at Otoro Station. This train was pretty packed with people, but once we got there, a bunch of people got off at that station, and we had to transfer to an even smaller 2-car train that took us through the snow-covered countryside of Hokkaido until we finally arrived at Kuchon Station. Now from here, you can get to Hirafu via a bus, but our hotel required us to continue on via another train and arrive at Niseko Station. Lastly, we grabbed the shuttle to the hotel, which we had to schedule ahead of time to pick us up, and we finally arrived at Niseko Grand Hotel. We quickly checked in and had dinner at 7 p.m., which was a mix of buffet food with a set meal centered around fish. This is very common in Japan if you're not familiar with it. Oh yeah, and remember those Volpex taiyakis I had? We ate those for dessert. Now, for the first day of skiing, it began as such. We woke up super early to have breakfast right when it opened, which contained a breakfast buffet. Then after changing into our ski clothes, we took the bus that was a part of the hotel all the way to Grand Hirafu, and it takes about 30 minutes from the hotel to the mountain. There, we headed to Yama Sports to pick up our ski rental equipment, and I got the premium package for 4 days of skiing, costing around 21,000 yen, and I requested the vocal mantras. Then it was time to get the lift tickets for the other person skiing with me. And my pass works here automatically because I have the Icon pass, but to get a 4-day buddy ticket for my wife, I had to go to the ticket booth to get them. In total, 4 days of skiing cost her, using my Icon pass, $190, which is about $47 per day. Now it's finally around 10 a.m. and we're finally getting on the lift at Grand Hirafu. Before we continue with our adventure, just a quick note on the ski resort. Niseko United is broken up into 4 different resorts that meet at the top, but they're all on the same pass. The closest resort to our hotel is Onapori, which is only about a 10-minute drive away. Then there's Niseko Village, which has this giant Hilton hotel at the base. Third is Grand Hirafu, which actually has like a town associated with it, making it feel like the biggest of the 4. And lastly is Hanazono, which might be the smallest, but we didn't really get a chance to ski there, so I can't really weigh in on how it is. Right out of the base of Grand Hirafu, we started by taking the holiday pair lift number 1, so my wife could get her ski legs back underneath her, but all the while I was chomping at the bit to ski some of that fresh pow that dropped overnight. After a few warm-up runs, I was finally able to go skiing on my own before lunch, and I rode the Hirafu gondola to the King Hooded Quad Lift, and then took the King Lift number 4, which has earned the nickname the Pizza Box Lift. As it's a one-person lift with no safety bar, the seat reminds people of a pizza box. In total, it took nearly 40 minutes in lifts to go from the base to the summit. From the top of the lift, you can ski the big open bowl at the top that's above tree line, or you can go into one of the many gated entrances for some backcountry skiing. I chose to ski through gate 4 and had a fantastic powder run, but this did not go back to the lift. Instead, it eventually hits a run out at the bottom, and I had to hike out for about 10 minutes, as it's the only way to get back to Grand Hirafu. I then had to ski down to Hanazono and ride 2 lifts back up, and then ski all the way back down to the base. From there, we had a tasty lunch at the Sky Hotel, getting the soup curry, and after lunch, we rode up the gondola again and skied down the longer green run, which honestly was very crowded and did a pretty awful job of mixing both beginners and advanced skiers all into the same run. At 3 p.m., my wife took the early shuttle back to the hotel, and I continued to ski as Grand Hirafu does offer night skiing on certain lifts, and they continue to spin until 7 p.m. The lift that I kept lapping until about 5 p.m. when I headed back to the hotel was the Ace Quad lift, as there was a nice wooded run, which is lookers left off the lift. It was still shaded and still had quite a bit of fresh snow from the previous night storm. I took the 5:30 shuttle back to the hotel to get dinner, and after dinner we enjoyed the on-site onsen. And this is definitely a perk of staying at this specific hotel, as it has an open outdoor mixed onsen. On day 2, it was the same deal as the morning before, with the included breakfast. But this time I took the earlier shuttle to Annapurna to get on the gondola when it first started spinning at 8:30 a.m. Unfortunately, the day that we skied here, there was really strong winds and it closed all the upper mountain lifts, making it so you couldn't ski between the 4 different resorts. My wife took the second shuttle, joining me around 9 a.m. to go skiing. Annapurna was a bit smaller, but definitely more beginner and intermediate friendly right out of the base of the mountain, with some nice greens off the Dream Quad Lift and the Jumbo Hooded Quad Lift. Then at 11ish, we decided to take the very crowded shuttle bus that connects all the resorts and go over to Niseko Village for lunch. This bus drops you right off in front of the Hilton Hotel that's spitting distance from the Niseko gondola. A short walk up from there, you get to Niseko Yo, which has several sit-down restaurants, but the only one we could get seats at was this pizza place called Crosta, where we got a slice of mushroom pizza, which they claimed were local mushrooms on top of the pizza. Now for the first run in the afternoon, we took the gondola up and skied one of the longer green runs, but this run was not fun for beginners, as it's actually just a switchback that runs through a steep red run. There isn't any other way to get down, so if you come and ski at Niseko Village, this place is only really meant for 2 types of skiers in my opinion. First is for truly advanced skiers that can basically ski anything, as the skiing right underneath the gondola was pretty awesome, filled with steep trees. The second type of skier is the true first-time beginners, because right out of the base across from the hotel, there's a whole bunch of low-grade beginner runs for new beginners to learn how to ski, but nothing in between. At around 3 p.m., we stopped skiing and we took the bus back to Annapurna, and there we headed to Niseko Distillery, which when I put it into Google said it was only an 8-minute walk, but in actuality, it was not. We had to walk down this road out of the ski area and ski through the woods and end up on this lower road. We finally made it to the distillery, still in full ski gear. After looking over the place, I would say this distillery definitely specializes in gin, and we got 2 cocktails here, which were pretty tasty, and then we also picked up some gin to bring back home. The worst part was walking back from here to the resort, as we had to walk all the way down this main road and then head up the hill, and we were doing this carrying our skis and ski boots, by the way. Not fun. This felt like the only time I really wished that I had a car on this entire trip. After walking back, I did have a little bit of time before the bus was scheduled, so I did a quick lap of night skiing on the quad. On day 3, this was by far the warmest day of the entire trip, with temperatures reaching near 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And the local news, as I turned the TV on in the morning, kept talking about how all the snow was melting. The plan for this day was to bring a change of shoes and walk around after skiing to explore the town of Hirafu. The benefit of this warmer weather meant that skies were pretty clear, which meant we also got a pretty amazing view of the volcano across the valley, with the best view coming from riding all the way up at the top via the pizza box lift and looking out at it. We again got lunch at the Sky Hotel, as the soup curry was very tasty for the previous day and it gave us a great view to match. After skiing, we ascended into the town to explore, and every day so far when we were coming here, the bus drove by this little stand, so of course we had to go and pick up some of the cheese tarts that were from there. Now, spread throughout the town of Hirafu, there were numerous food trucks and parking lots, but they seemed to only really cater to a Western taste buds, so we didn't get anything there. We did stop at the convenience store at the base, where I got this 3% alcohol Hokkaido melon drink that we drank in the parking lot while we were waiting for the bus to go back to the hotel. Now, on day 4, overnight from day 3 to 4, the temperatures dropped dramatically, making the skiing really only good on groomed runs, as the rest of the ungroomed stuff is what I like to call bulletproof. It was very loud and extremely icy. But it was our last day, so we had to ski Grand Hirafu because after skiing, we had to return our ski rentals. The highlight of the final day was taking the pizza box lift to the summit, as it was completely covered in fog, giving this super creepy vibe. We skied many of the same runs as the previous days, mixing the greens for my wife and the expert runs for myself, until about 2:50 p.m., where we then headed back to Yama to return the ski rentals, and then we took the 3:30 shuttle back to the hotel. Then we changed over our ski clothes, repacked our bags, and had the hotel drop us off via shuttle at the Niseko station. From there, we took the train from the Niseko station down to Shin Hakodate, because that hotel there was 5,000 yen per night, and the hotel we actually stayed at didn't have any availability moving forward. So to get there, we took a train from Niseko station to Ashramambe station with a 45-minute layover, and then we got on a new train and headed to Shin Hakodate. Now, of course, as soon as we started leaving Niseko, it started snowing again, and once we exited Shin Hakodate, the entire area around the station was covered in this beautiful, beautiful snow. So we had to trudge through the snow to get to the hotel, and this is the first part of the trip. So stick around, as there'll be more videos coming soon for the rest of the this trip. Let's reflect back on, is it actually worth it? Were there some things I would have done slightly different? Yes, but overall, I freaking love Japan. And the fact that it has amazing skiing only adds to that factor. I get it takes a while to fly there, and Niseko is not the only resort in Hokkaido, let alone in Japan, and there are much more that are closer to Tokyo. Two major things that I would probably do different in the future would be first, coming in January, so it wasn't as packed and the lodging wasn't as crazy because we were actually here during Lunar New Year. Two was try to stay in Harafu, but that would have meant losing out on the onsen. So there would have been a trade-off each way, but we had more time to explore the town. When I come back, I wouldn't mind skiing Niseko, but I'm probably going to check out a different resort just to experience something else, like Naozawa Onsen, as this was the other area we wanted to try skiing, but we couldn't get lodging due to the busy week of the year. If you want to see even more of our adventures from Japan, click the video on the screen right now. I'll see you again soon.